It's Tuesday, the 19th of April, 2022. Welcome to the Fast Five by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
All right, 5 stories in 5 minutes, Sean. Story number 1 is pretty extraordinary. More than 100,000 Australians have stopped using financial advisors over the past year. And I find this incredible. Only around 10% of people get professional advice.
That's right. The Advisor Ratings 2022 Financial Advice Landscape Report has shown what a mess the industry is in. The median cost of financial advice services last year rose by $270 to $3,529. That's 40% more than 3 years ago to get financial advice. That's according to a report in the Financial Review. The number of Australians seeking advice fell 100,000 to less than 2 million, and many consumers are now relying on unlicensed social media influencers, otherwise known as finfluencers. The number of advisors in the industry dropped by about 4,000, or the equivalent of 16% of the industry. Fees are somewhere between $800 and $12,000. Basically, people are finding advice too expensive. A third of people think they should have advice, but a lot less actually get it. 2/3 think they don't need it. I dare say, with interest rates rising, inflation picking up, and a lot of people retiring in coming years with a big stack of money, more and more people need financial advice. The upfront fee structure is a real problem for the industry. Parting with $3,500 is just too rich for many investors. Also, there are rules forcing advisors out of the industry, and the fact that the big 4 banks have left the industry has left a gaping hole. ASIC, the corporate watchdog, is trying to crack down on finfluencers. Let's hope they manage to do that. But certainly, as we always say on this show, people need financial advice and they should seek it.
Yep, absolutely. From an expert. Story number 2, Sean, and we are into the second week of the election campaign, and Prime Minister Scott Morrison is pushing hard the idea that a vote for the coalition is a vote for less uncertainty.
Yes, he was warning that voting for high-profile independents contesting the election will be a threat to stability and could throw Parliament into chaos and uncertainty. Remember, on Sunday, he finalised his front bench with Senator Anne Rushton to replace the retiring Greg Hunt in health and emphasised the benefits of knowing what you get if you vote Liberal National Party. Yesterday, Scott Morrison also criticised Anthony Albanese for his opposition around border protection policies. Mr Albanese had another tough day yesterday. New polling from 9 Media showed that his personal popularity as Prime Minister has slumped sharply. Then he got somewhat stumped on details of the opposition's health policy. He did say any government he leads will approve new coal mines. That's either good or bad, depending where you stand on that. And he managed to get booed at the Blues Fest in Byron Bay when he introduced Jimmy Barnes.
All right, story number 3, Sean. Look, and if you've been driving to work lately and thinking that there are more cars on the road, you may well be right, because the boss of toll road operator Transurban, Scott Charlton, says more people are driving to the office in the living with COVID world.
Yes, it's almost like an unintended consequence. People have more flexible hours as companies shift to hybrid models of work, and people don't want to be on public transport. Mr Charlton said there's been a marked increase in a number of toll roads, such as Melbourne's CityLink, which generated its highest traffic numbers last month since the beginning of the pandemic. Truck movements are higher as well, and toll roads that feed into airports are much busier. Of course, good news for Transurban, but just one of those interesting consequences of COVID.
Yeah, sure is. Story number 4, Sean. Oil giant Woodside has applied to list on the New York Stock Exchange. This follows its application to list in London as well. What's the reason behind this, behind kind of dual listings or even more listings on more stock exchanges?
Mostly it's about access to capital. There's big pools of money in New York and London, and when you're an oil and gas company, finding as much financial support as possible over the next decade or so will be very, very important. Remember, Woodside's merging with BHP's petroleum business and eventually will be worth around $63 billion, assuming the May 19 vote gets the 75% approval rate, which it probably will.
All right, last story, Sean. This one's a bit of a cracker. Big Four consultancy Deloitte is suing one of its own directors for allegedly unlawfully claiming at least $3 million in sham work expenses from the firm and from clients to allegedly fund his own lavish lifestyle in what they've described as an elaborate and long-running fraudulent scheme.
Yes, according to the Financial Review, documents filed with the federal court alleged former restructuring director Paul Quill made thousands of fraudulent expense claims from 2016 to 2022 to buy at least 100 artworks and sculptures, designer furniture, luxury clothes and watches, and Michael, a hot tub. Now, the case is scheduled for hearing this week. Mr. Quill hasn't had his say yet, so we haven't heard from him.
A hot tub. Any story that involves someone submitting allegedly a work expense claim for a hot tub is definitely going to make it onto the Fast Five by Fear and Greed.
Absolutely.
All right, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Tuesday, the 19th of April, 2022. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed on your podcast platform. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast Five by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.